everyone, my name is Elaine, and today I'm going to be both summarizing and reviewing the 17th novel in Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, Interesting Times, starting with the summary. The gods complain that fate always wins their games. The lady decides to challenge fate to a game of mighty empires over the counterweight continent. The game begins. The patrician informs Ricully that he has received a message from the Adventine Empire, instructing him to send the Great Wizard over and that Ricully is expected to comply. Ricully informs the senior wizards of the message. After some discussion, they realize the wizard in question must be Rincewind, since wizard was spelled with two Z's in the Empire's note. They summon Rincewind, who had just been chilling on a tropical island with his luggage. Lord Hong, leader of one of the most influential families in the Empire, had sent the letter to the patrician. He has a plan. The Red Army, a revolutionary group, meets in secret. They had helped Hong send the message to Ankh-Morpork. Rincewind agrees to be sent to the counterweight continent in order to not be executed for impersonating a wizard. He hadn't performed a service of great benefit to magic that any of the university's wizards had seen, or passed any of his exams. For being given the right to call himself a wizard, his old job back, 2 new hats with sequins, and the promise that he'll never have to go anywhere again. The senior wizards cast a spell to send Rincewind across the disk. Rincewind lands in a snowdrift on the counterweight continent. His position had been exchanged with a cannon. Rincewind had landed in the middle of a group of prisoners. Rincewind frees Cohen from his chains. He had been captured by a group of guards, and rides off with him and the other former prisoners to find Cohen's lads. Cohen tells Rincewind a bit about the political climate in the Empire. Hung, the capital city, is under siege. The old emperor is dying, and the Empire's 5 major families are waiting to move in. Lord Hong is informed of Rincewind's arrival and the loss of one of the barking dogs. Cohen sends the former prisoners away on pain of death. Cohen tells Rincewind about how the Empire has rules for everything. That's on page 81. The art of war was the ultimate basis of diplomacy in the Empire on page 82. It contains a mixture of rules and guidelines such as no fighting is to take place in the Forbidden City, and the Emperor is sacrosanct. It is expected that Lord Hong will be named Emperor next. During a meeting with the leaders of the other major houses of the Empire, the Sungs, Tangs, McSweeneys, and Fangs, Lord Hong says, "I have information that a very senior wizard from Ankh-Morpork has arrived to assist the rebels here in Hung, and that there is a plot to overthrow the good organization of the celestial world and assassinate the Emperor." That's on page 86. They agree to find a way to put an end to the trouble. Lord Hong longs to rule Ankh-Morpork, which he secretly admires. Rincewind is introduced to Cohen's Silver Horde, a group of old barbarian heroes. Cohen informs him that they're going to help him steal something. Ronald Savaloy, a teacher come barbarian, gives Rincewind a copy of What I Did on My Holidays. After leaving the Horde, Rincewind begins reading it and passes out when someone places their boot on his neck. The luggage arrives on the counterweight continent. Rincewind evades capture by the guards. While enjoying a meal, he realizes that Two Flower had written What I Did on My Holidays. Rincewind is knocked out during the course of his meal. He awakens in a cart. Rincewind is taken to Hung and introduced to a few members of the Red Army. He was brought to them because, according to legend, the Great Wizard led the first Red Army to an impossible victory. The people believe that he will return to do it again. That's on page 135. Rincewind flees. Cohen and the Silver Horde make their way into Hung. Rincewind is knocked out again. Rincewind is put before the Hung cadre of the Red Army. He is supposed to help with a rescue mission. Savaloy prepares a decoy, a cauldron full of fireworks. He hopes they blow a hole in the wall surrounding the Forbidden City, which will cause a distraction, which will make it even easier for the Horde to sneak into the city through the pipes. The Horde's decoy goes off. Rincewind pretends it was the work of his magic and is arrested by a group of guards who also surround the Red Army. The Silver Horde sneaks into the palace. Lord Hong is informed of the Red Army and Rincewind's capture. Lord Hong wants them locked up. Rincewind is thrown in a special dungeon along with the Red Army. Lord Hong considers what bad revolutionaries the Red Army's members are. They just put up posters and try to schedule appointments to light things on fire. It had taken him a lot of work to make it seem like they had achieved anything. And now he had given them the Great Wizard. He knows there's no hope for them now and looks forward to the counter-revolution he intends to mount when they're gone. Lord Hong intends to take over the world. Rincewind is reunited with Two Flower in prison. He informs Two Flower that his book has become a revolutionary document. The prisoners are allowed to escape. Two Flower introduces his daughters to Rincewind, Pretty Butterfly and Lotus Blossom. The Red Army decides to send Butterfly and Rincewind out ahead of them. They begin to make their way to the Emperor's chambers. Rincewind smells a trap. When they arrive at the Emperor's chambers, Rincewind and Butterfly discover that the Emperor has already been killed. They flee his guards. After fighting ninjas and more, the Horde finally makes it to the throne room. Cohen sits on the throne, stealing it from its former ruler. Butterfly and Rincewind split up. They had realized that someone had tried to frame the Red Army for the Emperor's untimely demise and wanted to increase the chances that one of them would survive. It is revealed that Lord Hong was the one who helped the prisoners escape so they could be blamed for the Emperor's death. Rincewind makes his way to the palace kitchens. He spies Lord Hong poisoning Cohen's food. Rincewind warns Cohen so that no harm will come to him. Cohen agrees to have the Red Army brought to him and placed under his protection. Lord Hong and his generals meet with the Horde. They are to engage in battle in front of the city at dawn the following day to decide the fates of both the Emperor and one another. Their armies can come fight too. The Horde leaves the palace to meet the opposing armies. Rincewind reunites with his luggage and meets his new mate. He urges them to leave the city before the impending battle with him. Rincewind makes his way onto the hill behind the Forbidden City. A thunderstorm commences. The ground gives way and Rincewind plunges into the darkness beneath the hill. Rincewind stumbles across a warrior. The enemy rushes at the horde. Rincewind spots more of the warrior statues. Cohen gives the order to charge. A fight ensues. Rincewind puts on some magic armor. The terracotta soldiers, the original Red Army, which surrounds him, comes to attention. Rincewind realizes that the armor has given him control of the terracotta soldiers. Without really meaning to, Rincewind defeats the opposition by killing their soldiers or scaring them away with his warriors. Two-Flower comes to collect him and informs Rincewind that Cohen is emperor and wishes to reward him for his aid. Rincewind is discomforted by the idea. He feels it's too good to be true. The pair begin to make their way back to the palace. Lord Hong and his men capture Rincewind. Two-Flower tells the horde what happened. Cohen prepares to rescue Rincewind alongside his men. The horde meets with Lord Hong. Rincewind disappears. Two-Flower challenges Lord Hong to a duel. He blames Lord Hong for the death of his wife. Cohen gives Two-Flower a sword for the job. A barking dog appears and crushes Lord Hong. The cannon kills Mr. Savoy as well. A Valkyrie comes to collect him. The luggage leaves his new luggage family behind. Cohen makes Two-Flower his Grand Vizier. Fate declares the game a draw. The wizards realize they sent Rincewind to Forex and transported a strange beast to the university in his place. And that's the end of the novel. Now on to my book review. I don't really know what to say about this one. I feel like I couldn't enjoy it as much as I might have been able because I remembered far more of the plot than I thought I would, which is a bit troubling because I remember really enjoying this one the first time I read it. I think the pace was good, but I would have liked to have seen more of the luggage. I appreciated how the elements, if you will, of a Rincewind story were abundant in this one. For example, he tried to run from adventure, but it kept on finding him. He kind of stumbled his way through survival and toward aiding in the Horde's victory. He continued to be the craven individual we remembered from earlier Discworld novels, but a far more organized story. And it was nice to see him interact with Cohen and Two-Flower again, and also to meet Two-Flower in the Luggage's family, albeit briefly. I thought the novel contained the occasional continuity problem. For example, Cohen sits on the throne of the Argentine Empire, usurping it from its former ruler, even though, unbeknownst to him, he was already dead. Toward the end of the novel, Two-Flower retrieves Rincewind from beneath the hill behind the Forbidden City and explains that Cohen is now emperor. And I couldn't help but be a tad confused because I thought the old barbarian hero was already the emperor. I really liked how the Horde's members played off one another. I enjoyed Ronald Savoy's, aka Teach's, attempts at teaching the Age heroes how to be civilized. It was amusing and this novel was definitely a lot of fun. Overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5 star rating. I definitely enjoyed this one. And there you have it, my summary and review of Terry Pratchett's Interesting Times. If you like what you saw here today, please leave a comment down below. Smash that like button until it's blue. Subscribe, ring that bell so you'll know what's up, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye guys!